Hi, I have in my hand here a 4-way LNB holder plan. So it relates to this product here in front of us. And basically the idea of this is a single holder that will allow you to mount up to 4 LNBs on a single dish. So if you had a large dish that was set up from multiple satellites, would say Hotbird, Astra 1, Astra 2, etc. You could feed them all from a single dish. All the LNBs would be mounted here, and you'd run them normally down to a Dysec, something like that, to a single set-top box, and have all the satellites coming in together. So what comes in the pack? Well, it comes in an outer sealed plastic parcel. There's 4 separate LNB holders here to come in 2 parts. There's a bag of screw nuts and bolts here, and there's a holder here that clip into the actual LNB arm coming from the satellite dish, and it holds this arm onto the dish itself. And this is where the actual LNBs are mounted onto. Okay. Now, the reason that this particular design is so popular is that because of the modular nature of this holder here. This is the type of design that you most commonly see on triax dishes, but also on Inverto, on Amico, SAB, Smart Electronics, etc. But it's standardized on a type of LNB holder, and it just means that this holder will work across a whole range of dishes. So it saves a lot of hassle if you're compared to going with a non-standardized dish. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give a quick demonstration of roughly what this would look like when it's fully assembled, the type of dish that we used, and then we'll quickly go through the assembly of this. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to mention here is I just have a partly assembled version of this, which is with only 2 LNBs with a single LNB mounted here, and you can see the holder here is ready to be clipped in. What I have behind me here is a SAB 1 centimeter perforated dish, basically a mesh dish that uses the same type of design. And what I'm going to do now is I will just show how we would assemble this. So we just literally line it up at the top of the bracket here. We just slide it down, and then we just apply a little bit of force, and we clip it in, and you can see it's popped out here both sides. And now in this case we have a facility to hold 2 LNBs, but you can see we've had 4 LNBs here working off a single dish. So you see how modular this is, how well it'll work. If I was using, we'll say, a triax dish, or an Inverto dish, or a Smart Electronics dish, it will work exactly the same in terms of how it would clip through. So the actual assembly of this, if we look at the design here, it's curved. Okay, so what we're trying to do is keep a constant dish from the actual distance from the actual dish, so we can line it up there, and each LNB will be set up for something different. So the first thing I normally do here is I come along and I insert the LNB holder part onto it. So we could push this on, but I normally just slide it on from the end of the first part, but we could force it on from underneath either. But basically what I'll do here is I'll just push this out a tiny bit. We'll just slide it along like this. And you'll note here that there's a hole that goes straight through. And what we do is when we get to that point, slide it straight through. What we can do then is we can get our bolt here, we just slot it from one side, and we come along and we could use this bolt here, this nut, sorry, slot it in here. It's hexagonal shape, so it slots in and it's actually held by the shape of the form, the plastic form. We just slot it in here, we can lock it in. Now you'll also note that there's 2 holes either side. So what we can actually do is put in an extra screw just to lock this very tightly to stop it rotating like that. And these are the smaller screws that we see in the bag here. Okay. So the next thing we do is we come along and we're going to put on our first LNB holder here. So once again, this one we have no choice. We have to slide it from the end. And what we'll do here is we just slide it along. We get in here. We insert our LNB if that was the case. We want to put one in. Just slot this underneath and we come along. We put a screw in on top part here. Just demonstrate this quickly. And we'll also put a screw in the front or back here, and it just allows us to lock this firmly into a fixed position. So if we know, we'll say we have the LNB at a certain point, we want to lock it and hold it in position here. We just come along here, we just lock this in, and it's getting a grip on the aluminium arm underneath, and it's just absolutely rock solid. You can't move it forward and back at that point. and just repeat the process for all 4. Obviously, if you buy a 4-way, you don't need to use all 4. You might only be using 3, or maybe even 2 actually. So it comes in a 3-way and a 4-way version currently, and it's marked as associated product for dishes that it'll work with. Basically, with the 10 centimetre dish, with the 97 centimetre dish from Saab, with the new 120 centimetre dish coming soon. Nearly all the large dishes will take this across all the brands that I've mentioned earlier in the video. So that's it anyway, a 4-way LNB holder from Saab Electronics.